Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, as per your respective time zone. Once again, on behalf of Mastek Managed Services team, would like to welcome you all to this 23A Supply Chain Management Advisory webinar session. This important session is to keep you fully synchronized with the new features and functionalities as a part of this quarterly release which Oracle provides. My name is Hardik Patel. I'm an operations manager here at Managed Services team at Mastek. Today, I'm your host for this session, and I'm glad to introduce my colleague Devinder Rajpal, who's part of our vast supply chain team at Mastek. Today, he will take us through all the inventory and order management updates for 23A quarter release. Today's session is planned for around 45 to 60 minutes, and we'll make sure that we answer any questions you may have. Before we move to today's agenda, let's have a look at the important disclaimer, please. We would like to convey your approach towards Oracle updates in a very simple method. We'll be taking you through vital analyses for the 23A updates done by our experts, which will help you incorporating new features and updates easily into your system. We will also sync you on any bugs or known issues if there are any. It's good to have an interactive session, so please do ask questions and we'll be happy to answer them during the session or even by connecting you at a later stage. This is to give you a glimpse on how we have created the structure of this session. So the first thing what you see is a list of new features coming into 23A, detailing on features so you get a brief understanding on what new features are all about. Next one, what are the business benefits and important takeaway for you as a decision maker? There are 4 components where we have done in-depth analysis of the features we are going to present to you today. The first one is impact level analysis, which demonstrate the impact on the end user. If it's a low impact, then regression testing can be avoided. If it's a high impact, then we need to offer regression testing. Second one, which is we all are aware that there's some feature which are by default auto-enabled by Oracle, and there's some which we need to opt for. And the third one that you see on the screen is the nature of the feature. There would be certain configuration which may be required, and some can be used without any changes. And last one, which is a quick win. This term we simply used to convey that what is ready to use by investing minimum amount of time and what requires significant amount of time and efforts to make use of this feature. So before I hand it over to my colleague, he's gonna start today's session. We'd like to do one quick poll wherein we'd like to note down your industry of the organization, which industry the organization belongs to. If you can please help us. Just upon this poll, my colleague will begin for today's session on inventory and order management. Thank you so much. We'll be closing the poll now. And I'll request Devinder, please unmute yourself and please begin for today's session. Thank you, Devinder.
Thank you much, Hardik. Good morning, everyone. So we'll begin with today's session. What we are going to cover today is about the order management and inventory updates that we have for 23A. Moving forward to the next slide, what we'll see is the updates that are available with us. The statistics will show that the total updates we have in order management are 8 and in inventory are 19. So directly to hit the ground running, we'll start with the first updates that we have for order management. The first is updates on attributes on split order lines for partial shipments. What this basically means is that when the shipment lines are distributed or partially split between the orders, automatically the other attributes will be updatable and will be able to split the lines automatically. The business benefit that the organizations may have is there will be a reduction in the steps of the order that will be processed, and there will be improvement in tracking and reporting for fulfilling the lines in order for more than one shipment. If we talk about the impact level analysis, then level is quite medium over here. You need to enable the feature while it is provided to you in 23. The configuration will not be required over here, and it is not a quick win. So just we'll have to enable it when we go or we proceed forward with that. The next feature that we have is to have the populate values on new split line. The details of these features are as follows. If the user splits a line in the split fulfillment line dialog that you're seeing in the screenshot below, the auto management will automatically populate the split lines. It will calculate the lines and it will populate the split lines in the original line. The business benefit that the user might have is the reduction in manual encoding of quantities, as auto management automatically populates the value, which will lead to a rich user experience. Talking about is impact level analysis. The impact level is lower here. You need to enable any specific setup or do any configuration. When we talk about configuration, yes, there is one LOV that is to be enabled in the setup and maintenance, and it is not a core one for this particular feature. The next we have is supplier side codes that are up to 240 characters now. As we all are aware that previously when we used to enter the supplier side codes, it only had around 48 or 60 characters limit available to us. But as Oracle identified that there is a business need of having huge numbers of characters available for the supplier sides, so in the current release or in the latest release, they have accepted the change, and the maximum length of the supplier side has now been increased to 240 characters. It will show depending upon the width and the column of the screen that the user has selected. So what the business benefit here would have is that many businesses might consider the supply sides to be vital for the business, which will be beneficial for the team in order to achieve this feature. Talking about its impact, the impact is quite low over here. You need to enable it, comes seeded when you go for the update of 23A. Configuration is not needed, and it will be a quick one for the users. Now the next is order promising. We have this bifurcated for order promising features in 4 different slides to make it quite easier for you to understand. First, we'll start with the allocation rules. It helps you in honoring commitments and distribute high demand items more fairly by ensuring the specified quantity of percentage of supply that is available to meet the demand. Enhanced supply allocation rules that use a hierarchy of attribute-based nodes to balance the allocation of supply across your networks are enabled. Child allocations shared supply allocated to the parent node when needed. Impact, talking about the impact over here, the impact is medium. Yes, you need to enable the configuration. You need to enable the feature. There is no configuration required, and it is not a quick win. Talking about the next order promising rule that we have is now the allocation percentage. You can use a REST service to override an allocation percentage with a specified quantity. To set the supplies that's available for more one allocation nodes to a specific quantity during a promotion, holiday, or some other time when the regular percentage allocations doesn't apply, this feature can be utilized, and through APIs the allocation rules can be governed over here. Oracle GOP will adjust the quantities of each of the remaining nodes in your allocation hierarchy to preserve the total amount of supply that promising already allocated for this week. While we talk about the business benefits over here, it can improve the order promising accuracy. We can use this feature for variability that happens in your supply chain during a promotion, a holiday, or a seasonal change that you face during the year, and so on. The impact level analysis, if I talk about this particular feature, it is medium. You need to enable the feature, yes, and the configurations are required when we talk about this particular feature. Moving forward to the next slide, here we have is high volume order promising. Order promising is critical for business, as we all are aware about it, and there are times when the system is not able to promise it properly. So when the quantities are high or in thousands of numbers. So recent changes in GOP has told that a scale out of architecture is available for availability checking and scheduling requests across a horizontal grid, enhancing the capacity and making it resilient. This will help the business in eliminating to restart the order promising server. That is a scheduled process which generally the businesses use while they try to allocate or plan the services. It helps in making and makes the supply and reference data updates available immediately. Yes, you need to enable the feature. The impact level is high over here. Configuration is not required, and it is not a quick win. Talking about high volume order promising. The next feature that we have is use profitable to promise. Profitable to promise can be used to provide the source that would normally use to fulfill the item with a source that's more cost effective. Promising considers the cost for the item in the organization, the cost to transfer the item between the organization, between the enterprise, and inbound transit cost for the supplier. The impact it will have will be medium if talking about the enterprises. The configuration is not needed to be enabled. Yes, that is a feature that will be enabled with the checkbox while you go forward with the 23 updates, and it is not a quick one for this particular feature. You can use it to maximize your profit margins when we talk about the profitable to promise, as it will choose or select from the organizations, or it will source the items from the organization where it is clearly available and can be moved forward with. It will help you in least cost and will help you in making a profitable to promise flow. Moving forward to the next update, we can view demands in summaries and supply allocation reports. In the OTBI reports that we have in the current seeded formats or current features available with us, then now supply allocation report now includes the promising demands. The data gives you insights into the overall performance of your allocation. For example, to see a total quantity of each weekly bucket, the demand quantity that promising is scheduled to ship or deliver on time, and to fulfill the rate percentage for allocated items. The demand summary and report will help you make informed decisions about the allocated a limited amount of time of supply that's available in a supply chain. Thus, the business might benefit once they want to enable or they want to use the feature that the extended subject areas are available for this particular report. You need to enable this. Configuration is not required. It is not a quick win, and it will have a low medium impact level talking about its impact analysis. You can directly help or go in the OTBI reports and fetch it over there. The next we have is improve supplier tracking for sales orders in your back-to-back flows. Let's assume some of our quantities in order line is available to ship. So the order management splits the fulfillment line into two lines, and it will fulfill or it will ship the lines in which the quantity is available. And if we talk about, if we take an example considering line X and Y, then the fulfillment line X and the fulfillment line Y. Line X will have the quantity that is available to ship. Line Y has a quantity that isn't available to ship. Now, if we talk about after what will the system behave after enabling this feature, the supply chain doesn't close the shipping line which does not have the quantities available. Instead, the orchestration keeps the supply order open until shipping also ships the line Y. Or the other thing can be if the order management or the order manager automatically cancels the request, only after that the shipping line will get closed. Orchestration will continue to orchestrate the changes in demand and supply for line Y as long as the supply order remains open. The impact level is low over here. Yes, you need to enable you need to enable this feature. Configuration is not required, and yes, it is a quick win. The benefits that the business might take away from this is it can save time and work more efficiently. They do not have now to manually create a new line for supply that is not available. Supply chain orchestration will automatically create new supply for you. You can also track how much supply you have used when shipping has shipped only line X. So all the tracking that has been done in split fulfillment lines or partial fulfillment lines, that can also be tracked in this new feature. Moving forward to the next one, we can consolidate the inventory on hand quantities. We have now entered the inventory, the features available in the inventory. In this particular feature, you can perform this consolidation using the perform inventory on hand quantity consolidation process. This process combines on hand quantity records based on the common item attributes and the original receipt date. The feature will provide an improved performance for future inventory transactions by consolidating the number of on-hand records in your organization. Generally, in the backend table, while the on-hand quantities are stored, there are certain tables which will be recorded. In the updated feature, they have consolidated those features through which the on-hand quantities will now be much more clear when it is stored in the backend tables of the system. The impact level is low when we talk about the impact analysis. No, you do not need to enable this feature. This will come seeded. Configuration is not required, and yes, it will be a quick win for you. Moving forward to the next slide, we see the next support. The next feature that we have is the support kit items on transfer orders. The details of these features are as follows. This to help you provide flexibility when conducting internal transfers. You can now request pick to order kits on a transfer order instead of requesting each component individually. You can directly in the PIM or product information cloud or product cloud, you can go and make the item as a kit item and use it for transferring the goods whensoever required. You need to enable this feature if you want to use it in your latest or future businesses. The impact level is medium over here, configuration is required, and it is not a quick win for this feature. The next feature that we see on the screen right now is ship more than secondary requested quantities using quick ship. The details of these features are as follows. You can enter a secondary shipped quantity that is greater than your secondary requested quantity as long as the entered quantity is within the specified deviation factor when using the quick ship flow. The business benefit that they will get out of this is that they can now use or accurately enter the secondary shipped quantity when they have the deviation factor mentioned in the product hub cloud, and they can use it in the quick ship flow to rapidly send out the shipments from any warehouse that they're willing to send to. The impact analysis for this particular feature is that it is on a medium scale. Yes, you will need to enable this feature going forward when it comes in 23 updates. Configuration is not required, and no, it is not a quick one. You are viewing the next feature on your screen right now. The feature goes as follows: receive your ordered goods and services on mobile or other devices using responsive self-service receiving application. The details of this feature are you can now create a receipt anytime and anywhere with just a few taps on your mobile if the system is integrated with the mobile applications. It will additionally help you with the responsive self-service receiving application. You can seamlessly enjoy the same improved user experience on your tablet or your desktop that you were previously using. The business benefit that comes with this feature is flexibility to receive multiple document types, including purchase orders, transfer orders, and advance shipments. You can receive items immediately using receive now or enter receipt details using receive with details. Talking about the impact analysis, impact level is low for this feature. You need not to enable this. The configurations are not required, and yes, it is a quick win for us. Next, we can talk about is generate OTBI reports for product recall management. The details of this particular feature are you can compare the estimated recall quantity, on-hand quantity, and count quantity for each item or lot to ensure the accuracy of the quarantine process. Also measure the efficiency of your organization in resolving these product recalls by analyzing the aging of recall notice. The screenshots that you're seeing over here on the screen is the new subject area under the product recall real time that has been added in the new feature. The dimensions and metrics are provided to you in the screenshot itself. The business can benefit to improve their efficiency in managing product recalls with more accuracy, thereby reducing the overall recall to disposition cycle time. The impact is low. We need to enable this particular feature. Configuration, it will come serially available. Configuration is not required, and yes, it is a quick one for us. The next feature that we have in line is review cost accounting distributions using the enhanced and performant user interface. The screenshot clearly depicts that the user interface is quite rich and user-friendly now. You can have focused search options available to quickly review cost transactions. The search results are organized in logical tabs for a more usable and performant rich user experience. The impact analysis is as follows. Impact level is low over here. Yes, you will need to enable this feature when it comes in 23. Okay. The configuration is not required, and no, it is not a quick win for us. The next we will talk about is using the enhanced cost accounting OTBI subject area to report on additional transactional attributes. The details are as follows. Report and analyze your transactions using this additional transaction attributes in the respective subject areas in OTBI, which is Oracle Transaction Business Intelligence. The screenshot provides that in the costing accounting real time and standard cost real time and item cost real time. We have labels provided for each of these subject areas, and the attributes are additionally added over here in order to view the transaction attributes or fetching in the reports which you currently form for seeing the cost accounting with us. The business benefit that we have is we can now use inventory transaction details in cost accounting real-time subject area to report and analyze the transactions. For standard costed items, you can use the cost source attribute to identify whether the cost considered for costing the transaction is defined by the user. and the standard cost page, or FBDI, which is file-based data import, or is calculated by the roll-up cost process. The next feature on the slide is create a standard cost scenario using a REST service. The details are as follows. Create and edit cost scenario header information using the cost scenario REST service. You can use the REST service to automate the creation of cost scenarios, which can then be used to load item standard costs, resource rates, and overhead rates using file-based data import. The business benefit that we receive out of it is we can define component cost, resource rates, and overhead rates using desktop spreadsheet integration. You can perform rollup by running the rollup cost through integrations. Publish the cost to cost accounting by running the updated standard cost processes through integration. The impact analysis for this particular feature goes as by the impact level is low. We not need to enable this particular feature. It will be a quick win for us. And yes, no configuration is required when we set up this feature inside. The next on the line is use additional subledger accounting sources in cost and receipt accounting. The details of this are as follows. Configure your subledger accounting rules and mapping sets using these additional sources. On the screen, you can see that there are additional source type, event class, and sources available for as a screenshot. In trade cost accounting, we have invoice lines, descriptive flex fields. Receipt accounting, we have purchase order lines and distributions descriptive flex fields. And for receipt and cost accounting, we again have transporter destination type. For trade accruals, which we have successor business unit available. So this new sources can bring a business benefit by creating more mapping sets, account rules, and description rules that match the business requirements. The impact over here is low. You not need to enable this feature. It will be a quick win and will be automatically available to you when it comes in 23A. The configuration is not required for this particular feature. Use predefined OTBI reports based on new data sources of the cost reports processor. The details of these features are as follows. The new reports use the new data sources of the cost reports processor. You must therefore run the cost processor regularly using a schedule. If runtimes are reasonable, you can include the cost reports processor within the same run control for the creating cost account and distributions process to always have a real-time data in your reports. You not need to enable this feature, nor any configuration is required. It will be a quick win for the 23 updates, and the impact level is low over here. The next up on the line is perform on-demand cost rollup for configured items. The details are as follows. Rollup and publish standard cost updates for purchased and manufactured configured items whenever the component costs or resource change. You can also perform a cost rollup for configured item without a work order if needed. The business benefit that we can have out of it is to establish accurate cost of your configured items when the component cost and labor rates fluctuate. You can accurately value the inventory at any point in time. After costing the transactions, costing does not reflect any incorrect variances. Simulate cost by rolling up the cost for manufactured configured items without a work order. If the impact analysis is talked about over here, the impact is lower. You not need to enable. It will be a quick win for you, and no further configuration will be required for this particular feature. The next on the line is apply budgetary control on internal source requisitions expensed to projects. The details are as follows. Check for funds availability, reserve funds against project control budgets, and account encumbrances, if applicable. When you raise internally sourced requisitions that are expensed to sponsored and non-sponsored projects, you can create an internal requisition for expense destination items and charge the transfer cost to the project by including a project costing detail. As you're seeing on the screen right now, the red highlight mark explains the project internal material transfer to expense line added in the transaction subtypes of the requisition that will be created. The impact level is high over here. You will need to enable this particular feature. Configuration is not required, and it won't be a quick one for this particular one. In continuation to this feature, as you're seeing on the screen, the business benefit that we'll have over here is that we can track the funds availability and funds consumption on critical project control budgets. We can check for funds availability for internal material transfer requisitions that are expensed to projects. We can track and account encumbrances on internal material transfer requisitions, expense to projects is in the distribution, but you must check the funds availability before submitting the requisition. If budgetary control applies to your transaction, funds are reserved as a commitment either on approval or submission based on the reservation point of the ledger and the business unit budgetary control options. Moving forward to the next feature, you can use enhanced receipt accounting and OTBI subject areas to report on additional transactional attributes. The details for this feature are report on additional transaction attributes using Oracle Transaction Business Intelligence, that is OTBI, when transacting in secondary units of measure. Dual UM enabled items can be costed in primary UM or secondary UM. You can now review transactions in the secondary quantities and UM using the OTBI attributes that you are seeing in the screenshot. The OTBI subject area will be named as receipt accounting real time, and the label folder will be receipt accounting transactions, receipt accounting transaction details. The attributes will have the secondary transaction quantity and secondary UM with us. The impact of this feature goes as follows. The impact is low. You not need to enable this feature. It will come will see readily available. It will be a quick win, and no configuration will be required in order to get this features available in the OTBA dashboards for you. The next we see on the screen is preview period and accruals for uninvoiced receipts. The details of this and the screenshots you are able to see on the screen. The receipt accounting distributions are staged in receipt accounting subledger and posted to the general ledger only after you run the create accounting processes. With this enhancement, you can now monitor your uninvoiced receipt accrual movements in preparation for period end by running the processes in report accrual run mode. You can run the process in accounting accrual mode to create final accrual distributions, preferably after you have closed the accounts payable for the period, ensuring the period and accruals accounted are for the same value that you have reviewed. The impact level is low. You do not need to enable. It will be a quick win when you see the process and the schedule processes that you need to run, and no configuration is required for this. The business benefit that the business can extract out of it is they can preview exactly what you have to accrue and for what amount, and help you analyze your receipt accrual entries even before actual accounting in the period. Provides you with complete flexibility and control for your period in accruals by having an option to exclude purchase orders in different life cycles. Better period and reconciliation of the amounts reported actually accounted in the ledger. Next we have is process freight fiscal documents for bookkeeping purposes. The details of this feature are the regular freight acquisition fiscal flow is now enhanced to import, process, and capture fiscal documents for bookkeeping processes, only using the new freight bookkeeping fiscal process flow. You can either have the regular freight acquisition fiscal or a bookkeeping version, or you can have both on your end. The business benefits that we have over here is simplified freight fiscal document process flow allows you to capture FDs for only bookkeeping purposes for transactions that do not need any accounting entries. The impact level is minimum or low, I might say. You may not need to enable this feature. Configuration is required and it won't be a quick win. The next we have is recalculate transfer price and split shipments. The details are recalculate the new transfer price whenever a back-ordered shipment line is fulfilled or when a dropship receipt occurs in partial quantities. The business benefit that we can obtain out of it is we can improve the accuracy of the transfer price that's recalculated using the latest costs and the financial orchestration setup data, such as the markup percentages, provides accurate accounting for the referenced RMA that is organized, improves the tracking and reporting for lines you fulfill in more than one shipment, increase intercompany accounting accuracy and avoids manual adjustments to true up the intercompany accounting, calculates the transfer price by considering any updates to attributes and split sales order lines for partial shipment or in Oracle order management. The impact of this particular feature, it will be medium if we talk about the levels. Need to enable? Yes. Configuration is no, and it won't be a quick one for us. So that is all for the updates that we have in terms of inventory and order management. Hadik, can you please pick it up?
So thank you for the wonderful insights, Davinder. So before we just move to the Q&A, we'd like to launch one quick poll wherein we'd like to note down your area of interest, whether it's technology innovations or managed services or value-based analytics or like 4.0. Also, if you need sessions on any of these or one-to-one connect or something, we are more than happy to arrange that for you. For example, VBA, if you need a session that's adding massive values to many of our existing clients, we can do that for as well. So if you need more understanding, any of your team members needs it, please do let us know or reach out to support managers or service manager. We'll be happy to help you there. I'll be closing the poll now. So I've got my colleague, can you check, Poojan, if you have any questions there and let me know. I don't think we have any questions there, Poojan, right?
Yep, no questions.
Okay, thank you so much. Before we close, we'd like to inform you that we'll be sending you a presentation and also a recording of this session in by the weekend or early next week, and that will be available to you from your email. Please look out for an email from us, and that'll be available to you with a single click, which you can pass to your colleagues as well. And so we have one more session coming up tonight. I mean, in some time, which is project portfolio management, PPM. So that's about it for today's session. And just before you leave us, we'd like to note down and how we did in today's session on the scale of 1 to 5, so that we can improve based on your feedback. Overall experience in today's session. Thank you so much for your feedback. We'll be closing the poll now. As promised, we'll be sending you the recording and the presentation of this. And just last question is, have you attended any of the previous webinar sessions, please? And we're done with today's session. We'd like to thank you everyone with this poll, and we really appreciate for your valuable time today towards this session. Once again, thank you everyone. Thank you.